will make further consultations and we will see the result.
Concerted efforts to end ASU strike intensify. President Buhari meets with Pro-Chancellor for Federal Universities. National Assembly to reconvene on Tuesday. Announces date to receive 2023 budgets.
There is compelling need for us to take a more critical look at the emerging issue of kidnapping, which has become a crime of choice for criminals and is becoming rampant and widespread.
Northeast governors meet, identify strategies to address common challenges.
The protocol is the most successful environmental agreement to date with universal ratification.
Also tonight, man's activities as contributing factors to environmental degradation in focus as Nigeria marks World Ozone Layer Day. Hello and welcome to the Network News on NTA. I'm Elizabeth Omori. Michael Olale joins us from Lagos. Do remember to follow this newscast live on our website nta.ng/live as well as other social media platforms displayed on the screen. Determined to put an end to the protracted strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU, President Muhammadu Buhari this Friday held a strategic engagement with the chairman and selected members of pro-chancellors of federal universities in the country. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has details.
The pro-chancellors of the federal universities were led to the State House by Professor Nimi Briggs. He said they are meeting the president not only as father of the nation, but also as visitor to the universities. Professor Briggs commended the federal government for the concessions already made to the striking lecturers, including the offer to raise salaries by 23.5% across board and 35% for professors of the salary in view of the economic situation of the country. The pro-chancellors also asked for a reconsideration of the no work, no pay stance of government, promising that the lecturers would make up for the time lost as soon as an amicable situation is reached and schools reopened. Minister of State for Education, Goodluck Nana Opia, said all the concessions made by the federal government are to ensure that the industrial action comes to an end, but ASU has remained adamant. President Muhammadu Buhari, who appreciated the pro-chancellors for wading into the industrial action, promised to engage in further consultations with relevant stakeholders on the best way forward.
It's a heavy decision going back on a government policy. I'll make further consultations and you will see the result. That's all I can see. Thank you very much.
The meeting is holding at a time when the pro-chancellors are still basking in the euphoria of the recent listing of the University of Ibadan amongst the top 1,000 universities in the world, a development occurring for the first time despite the poll cast by more than 7 months of industrial action. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Still on ASU strike, the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, Abuja, has commenced hearing on the prolonged strike by members of Academic Staff Union of Universities with a resolve to give the matter accelerated hearing. Olabode Arewa reports that the suit was filed by the federal government.
The course of action in this matter is the strike embarked upon by members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities on February 14, 2022. The industrial action has kept students of government-owned universities out of classes for the past 7 months. That the federal government sued ASU, telling the court that the course of action has paralyzed university education. At Friday's proceedings, Federal Government Council informed the court of its application for ASU members to resume lectures while negotiations continue with government, and that the court has jurisdiction to order a suspension of the strike. The court has adjourned to Monday for ruling.
The council to ASU wanted an adjournment, and we opposed their application for an adjournment on the basis that there is an affidavit of urgency and as a matter of national interest that the application for injunction seeking to restrain them from continuing with the strike ought to be heard because it is ripe for hearing. The Honorable Court agreed with us.
The ASUU has always been ready for negotiations, and there's no way you are going to resolve this problem without going back to the drawing table.
Counsel to the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, Ebulu Adegboruwa, SAN, has reminded the court of its pending application to join as a necessary party in the suit, saying that its outcome would affect the students that they represent. The presiding judge, Justice Polycarp Aman, adjourned the matter to next Friday for ruling.
All I can report to Nigerians is the fact that CONWA, as a body union, has never been on strike, has never declared any industrial action.
You know, 2 related suits are before the industrial court on the ASUU strike in Abuja. Olabodarewa, NTA News.
Away from ASUU strike, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says young Nigerians will always rise to the status of national and global challenges, especially through innovation and technology, when provided with the right platforms. He explains that this is the reason why, in addition to government funding, there must be robust private sector interventions to further drive world-class, groundbreaking research and cutting-edge innovation in the country's higher institutions of learning. State House correspondent Jide Onifade has details.
To mark at the Yaba College of Technology 50 billion naira endowment fund launch in Lagos, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo noted that not only are institutions of higher learning proving ground for best ideas, the birthplaces of innovation and groundbreaking research, they are also, to all intents and purposes, designed to guide and nurture a society's pathway into the future. Buttressing the need for endowment funding for higher institutions of learning, Vice President Osinbajo said endowments have helped to drive some of the most important global discoveries across different sectors. Yaba College of Technology said is one of the best institutions to use as proof of the concept that the nation can indeed develop world-class higher institutions for innovation and research using both private and public sector finance. While commending the governing body of the institution, the administrative and teaching staff for the initiative, the Vice President expressed confidence that the institution's track record and support that the endowment fund will bring to it will help reposition it as one of the frontline institutions that will determine the future of technology, innovation and creativity in Africa and the world. Jide Onifade, NTA News.
To aviation, the Ministry of Aviation is partnering the Nile University to kick off the African Aviation and Aerospace University this September at the Accident Investigation Bureau to bridge capacity gaps and provide adequate manpower to run the nation's aviation industry. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika said the university is to complement the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology, Zaria. Aviation correspondent Emmanuel Ayuno reports.
Aerospace University offers virtual and in-person programs to support space technology and professional development. To this end, Aviation Minister considered it a high time for Nigeria to go into research and development in the areas of aerospace and aviation, hence the need for the establishment of a university.
Nothing has really changed. Beyond production of pilots and engineers and cabin crew, and traffic controllers, and radio engineers and so on. So we need to move from these basic items, basic skills, into real knowledge. The admission will be a normal admission, and that is the reason why we're partnering with our university at the beginning now.
Aerospace University, first of its kind in Nigeria, is going to be a Pan-African university that will be sited near the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The university is to take off with a Bachelor of Science for Aviation Business and Meteorology. Emmanuel Ayiniwo, NTA News.
In other news, the President of the Senate, Hamid Lawan, said the National Assembly will reconvene on Tuesday next week and that the confirmation of the Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukaide Ariwola, will be one of the first items to be considered by the Senate. He said that this when he inspected Conference Room 022, the temporary venue where Senate plenary will hold henceforth, following ongoing renovation works in both chambers of the National Assembly. Senator Lawan noted that the National Assembly will be ready to receive the 2023 budget in the first week of October, as interventions on national security will be sustained.
This is going to be our temporary chamber for some time, some months, and I'm aware that it will be here that we conduct the business of the Senate. But we also know that we are going to receive Mr. President for the presentation of the 2023 appropriation budget estimates. And we expect that the President will be doing that in the first week of October, even though it may not be taking place here. Imagine that the House of Reps chamber will be the appropriate place like we have always done.
Unity is the bedrock of victory against all forms of challenges. This is what governors of the Northeast sub-region believe as they meet to discuss matters of common interests. Emmanuel Akila reports that this 7th meeting hosted by Gombe State begins the second round in the series by the Northeast Governors Forum.
The Northeast Governors Forum meeting has been an avenue for the governors to bring to the table issues of economic development of the sub-region and, most importantly, security challenges for tackling. The 7th in the series and beginning of the second round, the meeting reviewed the successes so far, such as dissipation of the Boko Haram insurgents, reviving agriculture, fostering religious tolerance and spirit of brotherhood. However, not losing sight of emerging challenges.
As we are now separated in matters of common interest and shared responsibilities, there is compelling need for us to take a more critical look at the emerging issue of kidnapping, which has become a crime of choice for criminals and is becoming rampant and widespread. It is therefore a matter of strategic necessity to essentialize the issue of kidnapping and come up with implementable measures to deal with this element of criminality before it is too late. To borrow from Nigeria's past national anthem, though our tribes and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Our strength lies in the shared determination of each and every one of us to set aside primordial differences in order to pursue a common vision aimed at improving the life and well-being of our people.
The governors of Adamawa, Bauchi, Borno and Gombe states present at the meeting go into a closed-door session, after which a communique is expected. Development in the Northeast Governors Forum meeting include the integration of security agencies and the traditional institution, as well as development partners to fast-track recovery and development of the sub-region. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
The United Nations General Assembly has paid glowing tributes to the late British monarch Queen Elizabeth II. Looking back at her political and historical legacies, members of the Assembly led by President Shaba Karusi and the Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the sun has set on a most extraordinary reign. Adebola Boston Sunday reports.
Now invite representatives to stand and observe a minute of silence in tribute to the memory of...
Following the passing of UK's longest reigning monarch, the 193-member body observed a minute of silence to pay their last respects. Antonio Guterres said Queen Elizabeth was a pillar without peers.
She was an anchor of stability across decades of often turbulent history. The first part of a remarkable reign saw many nations gaining independence from Britain and the formation of the Commonwealth, a diverse multilateral group.
You lost not only a monarch, but a dedicated, generous, and valiant servant of peace. The United States shares in this sorrow.
Her Majesty the Queen was an extraordinary leader who dedicated her life to serving the Commonwealth for decades.
The body of the late monarch is lying in state at London's Westminster Hall until the morning of September 19th. The funeral is set
for the same day at Westminster Abbey. Adebola, Brooksland, NTA News.
You're watching the network news on NTA. Time to take a break. The news continues shortly. Thanks for staying with the NTA. From NNPC to NNPC Limited, a transformation that requires reorientation of staff with a needed business mindset to achieve this. The Chief of Defence Staff, General Lucky Irabo, who is also the Chairman Board of Governors of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, led management of the Institute to hold talks with the Chief Executive Officer of the NNPC Limited, Milikiari, in Abuja. Mayor Ogidi tells us more.
Between 1.6 million and 2 million barrels of daily crude oil production, the oil and gas industry still stands tall on the nation's revenue chart. July 19, 2022 marks the end of government's involvement in the industry. No longer NNPC, but now NNPC Limited. Energy for today, energy for tomorrow, and this requires knowledge for today, knowledge for tomorrow. Handshake between knowledge and energy, as it were. NIPS collaborating NNPC Limited for the enactment of strategic policies to better position the industry.
NIPS is providing the manpower development, and of course it stands to reason that whatever happens within the oil and gas space, NIPS is also contributing in that regard.
As our company is transforming, we need to build capacity for leadership, and we have already benefited from the NIPS through a number of participants that have gone through the institute.
NIPS, a think tank, also thinking something big for President Buhari.
And we have discussed with NNPC that we should find ways and means of also ensuring that the legacies of Muhammadu Buhari in the oil and gas industry is documented for posterity.
We are very pleased to hear that they would like to honor Mr. President. And that honor is more important for us than even NIPS, because this president has done great for the oil and gas industry.
Talks over. Time for academic work for NIPS. And for the NNPC Limited, time to think business. Mayor Ogede, NTA News.
Now let's talk health. The Global Fund to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis and Malaria recently gave Nigeria a clean bill of health in the era of transparency in the utilization of funds it made available for managing HIV treatment and prevention activities in the country. Rabi Abdallah took up the Director General of the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, Dr. Gambo Gomet Aliu, on Nigeria's preparedness to take ownership of funding of the epidemic amidst donor fatigue.
Funding for HIV and AIDS and other diseases.
Global community sees value in investing through the Global Fund and also making impact. HIV, I can say tentatively that we are approaching epidemic control.
It is, however, a call to action, sequel to the global economic meltdown and donor fatigue.
This is what we call sustainability, and for the last 2-3 years, this is what we've been discussing with not only Global Fund, with also U.S. President's Emergency Relief for AIDS, that's IFA, and that's the basis of the HIV Trust Fund that was recently launched early this year, is to support the country sustainability or program sustainability and country ownership. Just as is expected of each country, the donor funding is not there to stay forever. It's there for a particular period of time, after which it will begin to shrink and it eventually disappears. So this is a process that we have started.
The epidemic, which had kept researchers and scientists on their toes for ages in the search for the ultimate remedy, is gradually becoming an easy nut to crack.
The new thing now is that HIV can be treated via injection instead of taking this drug every day. Once somebody achieves viral control, the individual can be switched to injection that can be taken every 2 months, 6 times in a year. So where we are going now is, instead of
6 injections, in a year, individuals can have only 2 injections. After every 6 months, these services are just becoming available elsewhere, and it will take time before they come here. We are looking at the next 2 to 3 years.
The Global Fund investment, since its onset 20 years ago, is said to have saved several millions of lives and reduced the death rate from the 3 diseases of focus by 50% in countries covered. In Abuja, Rabi Abdullah, NTA News.
Let's shift our attention to the environment. Man's activities such as industrial waste, burning of fossil fuel, unrestricted deforestation, use of certain chemicals have been attributed to major factors harming the environment. This sums up the 1994 proclamation by the UN General Assembly of designating 16th of September every year as the International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer. Hammond Germany reports.
The ozone layer is a region in the Earth's stratosphere that contains high concentration of ozone and protects the Earth from harmful ultraviolet radiation of the sun. Over the years, massive urban concentration and increased energy needs of man have depleted the ozone, which led to the signing of the Montreal Protocol in 1987. The protocol is aimed at controlling the total global production and consumption of substances that deplete the ozone layer.
The protocol is the most successful environmental agreement to date with universal ratification.
Nigeria came to practice the protocol in 1988 and has been implementing the protocol all years with its activities since then.
And also to add to the good news that the parties to the protocol have phased out almost 90% of the ODS globally compared to the 1990 levels.
What type of a world would we like to leave for the future generations? Would we like to change our ways or continue to depend on this artificial cooling?
To commemorate the day in Nigeria, Nigeria Cooling Action Plan was presented to the public. Hammond Germany, NTA News.
And it is estimated that the value of recyclable waste in Africa could grow to $60 billion by 2050. Consequently, African countries will launch a 20 by 2050 initiative at COP27 to scale solutions to upgrade the region's waste ecosystem. Olinge Fineface reports.
The World Bank projects that by 2050, the Middle East, North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa will produce 771 million tons of waste, most of which are dumped openly. Nigeria has initiated policies and programs to effectively manage wastes.
Also bringing in the private sector, because we have seen that there is a lot of economic benefits, economic viability as included in the national policy on the issue of circular economy.
An initiative to achieve 50% recycling in Africa by 2050, promoted by Egypt, seeks to scale waste management on the continent.
It's beyond the waste treatment, it's beyond the integrated waste management. It has an impact of human resource, it has an impact of environment, environmental degradation, air quality, and of course mitigation and adaptation of climate change.
The proposal is embraced by African countries at the Ministerial Conference on Environment in Senegal. Nigeria too supports the vision.
We want to emphasize on the need for partnerships towards perhaps the possibility of establishing a plastic or waste economy as being done for other kinds of economy.
Together, Africa will launch 50 by 2050 at COP27 in Egypt, a historic coalition to address waste challenges and reduce the sector's climate change impact. Omengie Fineface, NTA News.
To politics, the People's Democratic Party has constituted a 326-man national campaign organization for the 2023 presidential election. The list released by the party's national organizing secretary, Umar Bature, has the Akwa Ibom State Governor, Udom Emmanuel, as chairman, his Bauchi State counterpart, Bala Mohammed, as vice chairman, North, and the Oyo State Governor, Sheyi Makinde, as vice chairman, South. The list also has a national campaign management council led by the Sokoto State Governor, Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, as Director General. Adeyemi Mayegun is to serve as Administrative Secretary to the campaign council. Meanwhile, a federal high court sitting in Gusau has nullified the People's Democratic Party primary, which produced Dr. Dauda Lawal Dari as the governorship candidate of the party ahead of the 2023 general elections. The presiding judge, Justice Aminu Bapa, who delivered the judgment, ruled that the voided primary election was not conducted in substantial compliance with the Electoral Act and the PDP Constitution. Jamilu Ibrahim reports.
The People's Democratic Party (PDP) conducted Zamfara State gubernatorial primary ahead of the 2023 general elections on 25th May 2022, which was said to have been won by Dr. Dauda Lawal Dari, defeating some 3 other aspirants. Dissatisfied with the outcome of the primary, the 3 aspirants, Ibrahim Shuhu Bakawi, Yahya Madawaki, and Hafiz Nahuti, approached a federal high court sitting in Gusau for redress. In a 109-page judgment, the presiding judge, Justice Aminu Bapa Aminu, granted all the prayers of the plaintiffs.
An order was given by the Honorable Court to reconduct another primary election in line with the Constitution of People's Democratic Party and guidelines of that party. We are going to look at the judgment, the records, and everything to see the next line of action, which I believe is appeal. We are going to appeal definitely.
The presiding judge had earlier dismissed a preliminary objection filed by counsels of the defendants, challenging the jurisdiction of the court to entertain the matter. In Gusau, Jamilu Ibrahim, NTA News.
Still in politics, with less than 6 months to the 2023 elections, Accord Party has announced the expulsion of 3 national officials for anti-party activities. National Secretary of the party, Adebukola Abiola Ajaja, made this known to journalists at the end of the party's National Executive Committee meeting, which held in Abuja after receiving the report of the disciplinary committee set up to look into the allegations leveled against them.
Prince James Joseph Itiaba, the disciplinary committee found James guilty of gross misconduct, insubordination, breach of the party constitution, and therefore NEC ratified his expulsion from the party. NEC hereby direct the Reverend Isaac Adeniyi, former ex-official member, Innocent Igbokwe, former zonal vice chairman, South.
You know, we're approaching campaign period, and I thank you so very much that our candidates, you know, have lived to the expectation by, you know, observing the rules and regulations of the election as guided by INEC.
The party also passed a vote of confidence on the chairman of the National Caretaker Committee of the party, led by Mohammed Lawa Nalado. You're watching the Network News. Time to head to Lagos, where Michael is standing by with some reports from his zone. Nice to see you, Michael.
Nice to see you, Elizabeth. Motorists plying the ever-busy Lagos-Ibadan Expressway lament long hours and gridlock along Kara inward axis due to ongoing construction of some bad portions of the road. Abolade Salami, who was at the expressway to monitor traffic, reports that the situation is better not experienced.
The federal government embarked on repair works on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to reduce man-hour loss and road carnage usually recorded on the axis due to bad road, while the work has gotten to an appreciable stage at both ends of the expressway. Minor patches along Kara Bridge inward beggar through the old toll gates result in a daily nightmare for road users plying the corridor.
The day coming from Alausa
down to this area, it has taken me 4 hours. Sometimes if it takes you 2 hours, you will count yourself lucky.
This is what we face every day in, day out, and in fact, it's terrible. It's really terrible.
The gridlock, mainly caused by the road repairs, is further compounded most times by reckless driving from commercial bus operators and violation to traffic rules, despite the presence of police and traffic control officials.
It takes about hours some days, while some days takes about maybe 30 minutes from Opik Long Bridge, thereabouts. So I think they have to put into consideration people using that road.
Emphasizing on the assurance of the federal government to deliver the road project by December of this year, Southwest Director Highways, Federal Minister of Works and Housing, Adeda Malakuti, calls for a bit of patience from the road users.
Our plans to complete this pregnancy battle before the end of this year 2022. So all the things we are talking about in another couple of months, everything will fix it.
As work intensifies on the road, motorists have been admonished to observe all safety signs along the corridor. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
Lagos State government will continue to support security agents in keeping the home front stable and financially viable to sustain the intensity of crime fighting across the metropolis. Commissioner for Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Cecilia Dada, disclosed this at the close of a 4-week vocational training for members of the Police Wives Association and Police Community Relations in Lagos. Musa Toliat has details.
These women are part of the 250 trainees whose lives have been transformed with requisite vocational skills to make them self-reliant and financially independent.
We taught them how to do organic soap, how to do painting gel, detergents, and they are training us not only to stay at home and depend only on our husband's money, but to come out to do something for ourselves.
The gesture is also targeted at keeping personnel of the Lagos State Police Command focused on their constitutional assignment, given the fact that the home front is financially stable.
Most of police officers are not left out. There are also women in Lagos State. They will be able to cater for their children. They will be able to cater for their family. They will improve the economic situation of the state as a whole.
The 4-week short-term vocational training saw seasoned trainers take the participants through skills acquisition in 20 vocations, including event decoration, tie and dye, catering and confectionaries, leather works, hairdressing and wig making, fabric stoning and embellishments.
You have came and you have conquered and you've learned. Please make use of this and take it as something very important.
It's actually going to improve the lot of officers, because officers most times are not at home. They go out to work. Most of them are on transfers and their families are left alone, and some of them are not really working. So with this empowerment, they are going to do better.
The short-term training program is conducted every 3 months in 19 skills acquisition centers in the state, and more than 11,000 trainees have graduated from the program since 2019. In Lagos, Musa Toliat, NTA News.
Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen for updates. Time for some messages. The news continues shortly. Please stay.
NBC cordially invites all heads of...
You're still watching the network news. The Association of National Accountants of Nigeria, ANAN, has called for strategic thinking to fast-track an economic alignment for growth and sustainable development. This was during the 27th Annual Conference and induction of new members into the association in Abuja. Bosade Abel reports.
The oath of allegiance was taken in the presence of family, friends and well-wishers by the newly inducted members into the association. Abubakar Rufai is one of the 433 members of the association who believes that growing the economy is the only viable way to overcome the current harsh environment arising from global economic challenges.
Accounting is all about integrity, honesty, accountability, and transparency. For me, this should be an impetus to do the best, offer the best in my place of work.
The focus was clearly the economy, amplified by a theme that resonated the imperative for overcoming challenges to Africa's development.
We have consistently demonstrated compliance with global best practices in service delivery and value creation.
The two-day engagement also reiterated the importance of diversification of the economy and how it could be maximally achieved with critical efforts in mainstreaming the informal sector of the economy. In Abuja, Boss Sede Ebo, NTA News.
It's not all business. Oil steadies, but remains on track for weekly decline as investors lose 35.09 billion naira in the capital markets. Musa Abubakar is here with details on business news. Over to you, Musa.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Oil prices were broadly steady on Friday, but on track for a weekly decline on fears of sharp interest rate increases expected to curb global economic growth and fuel demand. Reuters reports that Brent crude futures settled 51 cents higher at $91.35 per barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures ended the day at $85.11 per barrel for a gain of 1 cent. Now, the Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Mariam Katagun, is getting more and more recognition for her part in driving the ministry's trade agenda and contributions to inclusion and social development, which is an inspiration to many across the Commonwealth. Latest is the conferment on the minister the title of Honorary Fellow by the Commonwealth of Learning, Calgary, Canada, at an award ceremony during the 10th Commonwealth Forum with the theme Innovations for Educational Resilience. In the capital market, trading on the floor of the NGX stock market closed negative this Friday. The NGX all-share index depreciated by 0.13% at 49,475.42 basis points. And market capitalization dropped to 26.6 trillion naira, 107.4 million naira. Exchange hands by investors on the floor of the exchange valued at 1.15 billion naira in 3,303 deals. ABN Holdings, Zenith Bank, and Access Corporation led market activities. That's a quick look at business. Elizabeth, is back to you.
Thank you so much, Musa. Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo has stressed the need for Nigeria to add value to its cashew nuts before export. The former president was speaking at the just concluded international conference in Cashew hosted by Nigeria. Musa Ali reports that more than 30 African countries participated in the 4-day conference.
Cashew nut is largely cultivated in Africa, shipped to Asia for processing and exported to Europe and the Americas, who are largely consumers. This therefore depicts how the bulk of the wealth from the nuts is being transferred to Asia, Europe and America, while Africa gets peanuts. Experts say Africa is lagging behind in the cashew business because her processing capacity is weak.
The gap in terms of knowledge base, in terms of efficiency between Africa and Asia is still very wide.
Africa produces about 60% of the world's cashew nut, but the value addition is just about 10%.
I expect that within the next few years, most of processors should be able to know which areas will losing money and will be able to mitigate them through their assistance.
Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was invited as a special guest at the just concluded Africa Alliance Conference on Cashew. The former Nigerian leader, who is an agriculturist, canvassed for the setting up of a committee saddled with the responsibility to ensure that the right policies are formulated to promote production, processing and research activities on cashew.
I suggested that we should be able to produce process produce. We should have much. If we are number 5 in the world today, what sort of
The idea of the conference, which is the 16th in the series, is to review and examine production, processing and marketing of cashew in Africa vis-a-vis the challenges. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
Now updates on road safety. Concerns over bad road practices seem to be engaging more stakeholders in the transport sector, with the Federal Road Safety Corps sustaining efforts in building capacity towards reducing incidences of auto crash statistics in 2022. Abubakar Akwanga reports.
The 4 last months of the year is usually a busy period for the Federal Road Safety Corps, and a greater commitment is required to stem the tides of auto crash. And this stakeholders' engagement is one of the many collaborative efforts aimed at strengthening capacity to keep the roads safe for users and investments. The two partners agreed that speeding, night travels, overloading and the use of drug are harmful practices that will increase the surge of auto crash.
If you partner with us in public education, I know we do a lot of VCs, motor park rallies. I know our men do VC parks now, what to call the early morning crime. All these issues we are discussing now, they are all related to the environment. We are partners in progress. We will continue to cooperate.
To know that issues of safety on the road are so critical that no one, particularly the transporters, should treat with levity for the purpose of achieving total sanity in encouraging a road safety culture in Nigeria will be definitely produce positive results.
The continued synergy with strategic agencies is to assist the Corps reach out to target population as it races against time to secure Nigerian roads. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
Let's take our last break. The news continues shortly. Glad to know you're still there. A delegation of the federal government has condoled with the family of Senator Kabir Gaya as well as the government and people of Kano State over the demise of late Sadiq, Senator Gaya's son. Muhammad Ali reports that Minister of State for Works and Housing, Umar Ibrahim El Yakubu, who led the delegation, expressed President Buhari's shock over the loss.
The delegation led by the Minister of State for Works and Housing, Umar Ibrahim El Yakub, was received by the father of the deceased, Senator Kabir Ibrahim Gaya. President Muhammad Buhari's message of heartfelt condolences was read to the bereaved family, in which he urged them to take solace in prayers for Allah's eternal mercy for the deceased.
The President shares in the pain of the family on this tragic loss, and he extends his condolences and prayers. May God Almighty forgive him, and may his soul rest in peace.
Meanwhile, Vice President Yemi Oshibajo was also at the residence of Senator Gaya, accompanied by Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, to commiserate with him over the demise of the son, Sadiq, whom he described as friend and partner in the law profession.
We lost Sadiq. He was not sick at all. He was with me a night before his death. He came to my house in the suite room and all about over an hour discussion. And it was only when he died I realized that he was delivering a sermon to me.
Prayers were offered for the repose of the soul of late Sadiq Kabir Gaya. Muhammad Ali.
Life is transient and temporal, but the good deeds and legacies of humans will continue to live even in death. This came to the fore at the funeral service of the late chairman NTA board, Chief Drojaye Onabule, at the Cathedral Church of Our Saviour, Ijebu-Ode. Correspondent Joel Popola reports that Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed was represented by the Acting Director General of the NTA, Abdulhamid Dembos.
The atmosphere at the funeral service for the late chairman, NTA board and Jagunmolu of Ijebu land, Chief Drojaye Onabule, was agog as dignitaries came from far and near to pay their last respects. Acting DG of NTA led the management of NTA as they joined well-wishers to pay their last respect and also commiserate with the family.
He is one individual that has been able to mobilize the management to work as a family, and he is also an individual who cares so much about staff welfare and the progress of the authority.
I worked with him at the State House from Gordon Barracks to Aso Villa, and our relationship was very, very cordial. He guided me in so many ways in the course of my profession in the State House.
In a solemn mood, the body of the veteran journalist was ushered into the cathedral. The Bishop of Ijebu, the Anglican Diocese, in his sermon described the late double chief as a very disciplined and diligent journalist who gave his very best to the noble profession. He charged his children and family members to emulate its exemplary attributes. Various groups, including the Old Boys of CMS Grammar School, Lagos, and members of the NTA family, all paid tribute. A special thanksgiving captured just how the children and well-wishers are grateful to God for the life of Chief Onabule.
He was a great dad, he was a great father to us. He was a great guardian to a lot more people out there.
Very kind, good father to the children, and I really miss him.
The octogenarian was later buried at his residence in a solemn mood. Late Chief Drojaye Onabule was one-time Chief Press Secretary to former military President Ibrahim Babangida. He was aged 83. In Ijebu-Ode, Joel Popola, NTA News.
And may his soul rest in peace. And that's the news. Thank you so much for watching. Do remember to always take action against rape and rapists. I'm Elizabeth Omori. Be your brother's keeper.